what do you recommend? And does it have to be difficult and onerous and expensive? Or how do you sort of stack the deck so you're like getting the basic things you need and not running into this trouble?
Yeah, I do have some of the basic things that I think, well, that I take, but also that I think that would help a majority of people that are insufficient in a lot of these micronutrients. And first and foremost, vitamin D supplement. And again, I think generally speaking, vitamin D, 4,000 IUs a day, pretty, for the most part, gets people to a sufficient-ish level. You have to do a blood test to really know for certain. You may have to take a little more, but starting at 4,000 IUs a day, which is the upper tolerable intake, is safe.
And this is actually by the National Academy of Sciences saying this is a safe level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Number 2, omega-3 fatty acids. And, this is something where Bill Harris has published studies looking at how do you get someone who is low omega-3 index, so 4% omega-3 index up to an 8%. Turns out it takes close to about 2 grams a day. So
2 grams of
EPA and DHA.
So when you get, just for clarification purposes, if you get a pill and it says a gram of fish oil, it might not have a gram of EPA and DHA. It might be like 300 or 200 milligrams. So you have to look at the concentration of EPA and DHA in the milligram amounts on the label. Otherwise, it might take 1 pill or it could take 5 pills.
Exactly. So that, I think, is a pretty simple solution.
So 1 to 2 grams?
1.5 to 2 grams. You get most people that are in a 4% low range to an 8%
And the
high
balance
range.
of EPA and DHA, does it matter?
Not really.
Is it 50-50?
Usually it's like
30,
a 2-to-1 ratio,
EPA
to DHA. Yeah, for the most part, something close to that.
Okay.
But I wouldn't sweat the small stuff. Like number 3 and number 4 are kind of tied, but I think a multivitamin is a really good insurance because, there's selenium, boron. Yeah, there's, the B vitamins, you're getting, there's vitamin A, there's so many different micronutrients and that really covers a lot of the bases. So I think a pretty high quality multivitamin is good along with magnesium. So magnesium, because such a large percentage of people are not getting enough magnesium, it is so important for a variety of, processes, DNA damage, brain function, muscle function. People that are physically active, they sweat out magnesium. So you might need anywhere between 10 to 20% more than the RDA.
And stress and coffee also.
Stress depletes
and alcohol.
Exactly.
So you're like, what is the American life? Stress, coffee, and alcohol.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
That's why we're all deficient. We're literally peed out.
Yes. And so you want to make sure you're getting an organic salt. So that would be something like magnesium citrate, magnesium malate, magnesium glycinate, and
citrate if you're constipated.
Right. So those are the organic salts, which are more bioavailable.
I'll tell a funny story. I was in the hospital recently for a back surgery and I wanted to get magnesium and I talked to the hospitalist and he gave me magnesium oxide and I'm like, that's not bioavailable, and I sort of went through this with him, and like you did with that. It wasn't as confrontational as that, but he's like, "Oh, you're right. I look it up, and actually, no, true." I'm like, "Yep." So, but that's the main nutrient form of magnesium that you get in a lot of the supplements that you buy over the counter because it's the cheapest form. So magnesium oxide, if you see that on the label, just skip over.
Right. So that would be another one, and then I add to my essentials the sulforaphane. I used to sprout, and I no longer do that because
life is busy.
My excuses. Yeah, I'm So
you're busy telling the world how to eat better and be healthy.
It's like the worst thing you can do for your health. But I trust the science that I've read looking at the supplement that I take, which again, it's a really good supplement, Avmacol, and they have about the advanced formula is what I take. I take about 2 to 4 a day, depending on.
And we'll put the link in the show notes for that.
They're great, and they're like published studies on them, improving autism. So it's affecting the brain. So it's approved autism spectrum disorder in kids with autism, adolescents with autism, but it's a very strong activator of glutathione. Right, so NRF2 pathway. So that's my phytochemical.
I actually wrote a blog about glutathione years ago. If anybody wants to sort of find out more about glutathione, go to Hyman and glutathione, and you'll find it. And it's kind of the master detoxifier, the master antioxidant, the master immune regulator. It's like it's so critical, and you get it through some of these plant foods. You get it by sulfur-containing amino acids, which are found often in animal foods or in whey protein. It's a great source.
It is, yeah. So it's a major antioxidant in the body. So I think those are really some of
So vitamin D, fish oil, vitamin D 4000, fish oil, 1 to 2 grams of the actual EPDHA, a multivitamin, and high quality, meaning it shouldn't be blue or purple or green or yellow and have titanium and dyes, and should be just the right. And the bioavailability, the form of the nutrient matters. I mean, I think you and I both done a lot of work on this, and people can dig around. But it's not just like go to get your Walgreens or CVS multivitamin.
Right.
It's a little more judicious. And then magnesium. And how much magnesium?
It depends. So some people get a laxative effect, and they want that.
That's what citrate.
Even with higher doses of other forms, they can. Yeah. But so I mean, I think it depends on your diet. Like if you're not eating a lot of plants, shame on you. You need to increase that. But about 250, 300 milligrams, is a good range. Now, if you're trying to treat like migraines and stuff, you might have to go higher. Like some studies show like 600 milligrams. And then there's the form of magnesium threonate, that's thought to cross the blood-brain barrier more effectively for brain health, because magnesium doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier very well. But magnesium threonate it's not necessarily going to do the DNA damage repair aspect of magnesium. So make sure you're getting both if you're doing that. So like for me, I take like about 250 milligrams, maybe 300 milligrams.